Hello, and welcome to the GTX 660 Ti review by Matt, aka somebody from our channel. Right here you can see the card itself and EVGA's design of the card. You can see Nvidia's classic blower design of the fan in the front. On the top of the card you can see the two PCIe 6-pin power connectors required to power the card, and the two SLI fingers on the other side. Unfortunately, this card only supports 3-way. If you want 4-way, you need the GTX 670 or higher. On the back of the card you can see the PCB. The PCB is substantially short compared to standard PCBs. The GTX 670 has a very similar design to the GTX 660 Ti. On the front of the card you can see two DVI ports, one HDMI port, and one display port. These are standard on most video cards. Here you can see the rest of my computer. My computer specs are follows. A Intel Core i5 3570K overclocked to 4.1 GHz, 8 GB of Kingston HyperX RAM running at 1600 MHz, an ASUS P8Z77-V motherboard, a Corsair CX 600 watt power supply. Finally, my computer is running a Samsung 830 series SSD. This is a 256 GB drive. Here you can see the graphics card installed in my system, and this is of course the GTX 660 Ti. Just so you guys know, I'm going to be uploading a video in the future about temperature for the CPU and GPU inside this case, and just so you know, it's going to be in there, so ventilation isn't going to be the greatest, but I think it'll be fairly accurate for what we're doing. Our first game up is Metro 2033. Even at high settings with no AA, it still only manages 40 frames per second, which is actually extremely playable, especially if you consider that the minimum FPS was 30, which I consider would be the bare minimum for a game. However, the minimum on very high settings with 4 times AA is only 24 FPS, and you can feel it while playing. If you're buying this game with this card, I'd definitely recommend playing it at high settings if you're going to be playing at 1080p. Next game up is Battlefield 3. Battlefield 3 I ran 3 different times, medium, high, and ultra settings. At ultra settings you can see that the average frame rate is above 60 FPS with the minimum being 53. This is showing that with this card can easily run as long as you have a CPU to power it, of course, at ultra settings. Very, very playable. You don't notice dips at all when you're playing. High, it goes even higher. Your minimum is above 60 FPS, so no matter what, you're going to be getting an ultra smooth gameplay. So high, if you want more smoothness compared to ultra, go high, and if your CPU can't handle the game, go medium, so you just get that ultra smooth gameplay. Without that, it's really hard to play Battlefield. Next game up is Minecraft. And as you can clearly see on the charts, this game is just completely overkill for Minecraft. On the highest settings, the average frame rate is 232 frames per second. And if you really wanted to, you can crank the settings down to the lowest and get an average of 1,375 frames per second, maxing out at 1,671 frames per second. So yeah, if you want to play Minecraft and that's the only thing you're going to play, get something a little bit less powerful. Like maybe like a GT430. I had that card and it ran this game great. Mafia 2 will be the last game I'll be testing. I'm going to be using the highest settings. Okay, I actually had to do custom to keep physics on high at 1920 by 1080. I'm going to be using the in-game benchmark rather than a game benchmark because I'll probably stress it out more than I can do it myself. These are the results I got from the Mafia 2 benchmarks. This 5.5 is probably not correct. There's a little dip that happened in the middle of one of the scenes, and normally that wouldn't happen, but it was just for a split second, but this obviously caught it as a 5.5 minimum. Just take this with a grain of salt when you're looking at this. Overall though, average FPS is 50, and that's extremely playable, and GTX 660 Ti brings a pretty darn good performance for the price. Overall, I have to say that you're getting a really, really great value when you're getting the GTX 660 Ti. 660 Ti is able to power today's most powerful games easily at 1080p at the highest settings cranked way up. So if you're looking to buy a new computer or just looking to upgrade, GTX 660 Ti is a great choice.